This is Lemon's Car Spotting. You post to Instagram with the hashtag Lemon's Car Spotting. We pick the hooptiest.
They are so incredibly terrible.
And which one we want to become a real Lemon's build.
It does car-like things. I've been pushing for one of those in Lemons too, and those are very affordable.
It is Nick and A's legend, Ioannis Cespedes, and this is Lemon's Car Spotting. I've got before we do the picking, I want to revisit something we talked about a few weeks ago. There was an Electech Uncar, is that right?
Yep.
It was a electric startup that never really took off in the late 70s, early 80s. Their car was called the Uncar, and somebody posted one, which is amazing that it still existed. And Eric later texted me and said, it turns out that the Uncar, the defroster system, was a Vidal Sassoon hairdryer taped to the bottom of the dashboard and run through some ducting. And I thought, that is incredible. I need to find a picture of that. And find it I did. And it turns out not a Vidal Sassoon hairdryer at all. Story totally exaggerated because it was a Gillette Supermax Pro 1400 hairdryer that was the defroster system. And it wasn't taped to the dash. It was hose clamped to the dash.
Yeah. Jesus. Mean.
Look at oh, it's so amazing.
I hope that it's just hardwired into a fuse and then you just whatever.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, now when you are restoring your Uncar, you got to find the proper year Gillette Supermax Pro 1400. Man. I mean, yeah, I can totally see. Like, look at the bottom. You can see the cord, the wall plug that it's going to. Oh man, that is just the most incredible thing I've ever seen.
Yep.
All right, with that, I'd love to spend the whole episode talking about that, but we've got to pick the Lemons build and the hooptiest. Eric, close your eyes. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
That's the Lemons build. I'm doing the hooptiest. Open a new page on my notebook. And away we go. Let's see. We've got things parked behind things. Oh, it's wow. It's a like an Austin Marina or like MG 1100. And then I believe that's a Rover P5 behind it.
Nick, don't you own a Rover P5?
Well, I own a Rover P4, Eric, which is the superior suicide door version that became the P5, which in a lot of ways, is a superior vehicle, but everybody knows that the connoisseurs choose the Rover P4.
Yeah.
God, have we ever had a Rover brand? I guess we've had the Rover, whatever, SD1/3500 in Lemons. And of course the Rolex, which is one of those with the Lexus V8 in it. But we've never had a real...
We have. Super Grover was a P5.
Right. Was that a P5 or a P6? I guess it was a P5.
Yeah. Yep.
So this is just an earlier P5.
Yeah. I think the one in front of it is an America.
Austin America. Yeah, which
or a Maxi maybe. Actually, it might be a Maxi because it's a 4-door.
Yeah,
whatever they sold at Land Crab.
Yeah, right. Boy, I did a deep Land Crab dive, and I understood it for about 30 seconds after I read the whole lineup. But amazingly, we've seen a couple of Land Crabs in Lemons or whatever. 4-door
16. Is that what they call them?
Right. Yeah. Because I think wasn't the original Mini was like ADO 15 and it stands for like Advanced Drawing Office or something. And like the 15th thing that they did, the first 14 being totally unfit for human consumption. But yeah, we've actually seen a couple of these. Spank ran one that in typical Spank fashion, it wasn't ready for tech. Race has been going for a day. He shows up randomly. We pop the hood. Armand is looking at it. It still has the hydroelastic suspension. And then just sitting there, the hydrolast reservoir explodes and sprays hydraulic fluid all over her arm. And I have a picture of him somewhere wearing a yellow lemon staff shirt with dirty hydraulic fluid sprayed all over it. It was quite a thing. And then the Silver Sleeves Racing up there in the Pacific Northwest, they're actually from Vancouver, and they come down to do the Ridge and occasionally Thunderhill. They have one of these that has the like total front subframe swap from a Ford Probe GT, including the Mazda V6. That's an amazing vehicle. Actually pretty quick. Great Lemons car.
Yeah. These are both fantastic British Leyland Lemons candidates right there.
Yes, indeed. All right. Next up. Oh, man.
Would you like your wagon in small or large?
Pretty much. Okay, so this is, I mean, I've screwed this up a million times. I mean, there's a Buick Century wagon.
Yep.
And
that's what that is.
And then that's a Roadmaster. Now, did they sell those at the same time?
Yeah, they would have. I don't know exactly when they stopped selling the Century wagon.
Because, I mean, this is obviously in recent times, but conceivably you could have gone into a dealership, a Buick dealership, and had the same scene with these two cars brand new. And it literally was that question. Do you want small or large?
Yeah. I mean, they both have 3-row seating that faces backward.
Just like a Mercedes.
I mean, it's amazing. The Roadmaster, some of them had an LT1, same V8 out of a Corvette, as everybody who owns one will tell you.
Right. Despite that it's like also used in, the Chevy van.
Right.
Which is kind of true of a lot of Corvettes, as it turns out.
Yeah. The Century had one of the various V6s, depending on the year. The Olds Cutlass Cruiser that I had of the same vintage and body style had the 3300, which is a D-stroked 3800, and is generally regarded as one of the worst engines GM has ever built. They're terrible. But also on this lot, there's a Lincoln limo.
Lincoln limo. You got an F body. You got yourself an R107. Mercedes, I saw an R107 the other day with those 5-spoke wheels, whatever they call them, AMG style 5-spoke wheels. And like sort of a body kit and a super loud exhaust. And it was like, man, that's kind of cool. Had the V8 rumble.
Yeah, a Mercedes V8 sounds spectacular, actually.
And we've only had one of those in Lemons.
The R107, we've had two. I don't know what Robert Simpson's, if his was an R107 or the next generation.
So, I mean, I have a weird sort of image of those in my head because, by the time I was, by the time I was like 10 years old, it was like, there were a lot of those on the street, but they were kind of ubiquitous. And I feel like they had some reliability issues that were incredibly complicated.
Yeah.
And so I didn't see them as being like a fancy car, even though they were hella expensive when they were new.
Yeah.
And so as a result, I sort of think of them as the car you would find in a yard. I think there's a little bit more appreciation for them, but I still feel like you find those in yards and thus making them attainable for Lemon's money.
Yeah, totally. Rally Baby Racing had one.
Yeah.
Brandon Spears had one in Texas.
That's right. Now that, and
then Robert Simpson had one.
Yeah. The Knox Vegas.
Yep.
So, well, anyway, any of these would be good Lemons cars. Check the length limit before bringing the Lincoln limo.
Yeah.
All right. Next up. Oh, man. For sale, $300. See? There you go. Has there ever been a clearer example of how do you get Lemon's car?
Yeah.
And I mean, this thing, like, I'm sure it's got the removable top thing.
Yep.
That's got to be worth money, right?
Yeah.
Couple $100. Sell stuff you don't need off of it. Use your own labor to fix whatever's wrong with it. And boom, $500 Lemon's car. We've seen a few Del Sols and Lemons.
Quite a few, yeah. We've had a bunch.
Most notably the Del Camino, which is a Del Sol with a shrunken 1970 El Camino body on it, which is an incredible Lemons car. I mean, these are cool because, I mean, they were meant to compete with the MR2, which of course was a mid-engine car. Honda did a really good job of sort of getting close to mid-engine proportions stylistically, but then just making it a front-wheel drive Civic underneath.
Yeah, it's interesting that they probably could have put the front subframe in the rear and just made one, which is all that Toyota did, frankly. But, you know, there's something to be said for making it work with what they had.
Yeah, it had a proven track record, and it's not like most people buying these, I don't think, really cared. Like, and if they really cared, they'd fine, go get an MR2. But if you just wanted a Civic that was kind of sporty, I mean, I want to say that this was like the early ones. You could find a CRX badge or sticker on there somewhere. Yeah, where, I don't know if they sold it as a CRX somewhere else or it was just like an homage. Like, yeah, this is the 2-seat sporty Honda. Del Sol never had the cult following that the CRX had. I don't know why. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. So,
no, I think they were sold in Japan as the CRX3. And then they wanted to separate them for some reason here. They are heavier, like quite a bit heavier than the CRX, but I don't know. If you go in Lemons racing, the weight isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking a lot of weight out of it anyway, and durability is definitely more important than anything. So yeah, no, I think that's a good choice.
$300.
$300. Go get it. Where is this coming from? This is
Ohio.
From Southern Ohio Backroads Cars, Pomeroy, Ohio, wherever that is. All right.
Southern Ohio, I would guess.
Oh no. Now, I actually happened to see this on Instagram, and I immediately forwarded it to Armand, who is our resident E60 BMW owner. Now, Armand's got the sort of the early E60, which has the M54 engine and 6-speed, which arguably makes it the best one, or the one, I should say, least likely to burst into flames, have the fire department axe a hole into the roof in an unsuccessful attempt to put it out, and then dumped by the side of the road. I'm assuming that's what happened. I can't figure out otherwise what would have occurred here, aside from, whatever, being hit by a photon torpedo.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what do you say about it. It burst into flames. Totally ready for the slant 6 that you're going to put in it to come Lemons racing.
Yep, that is the solution for BMWs is slant 6 power. God, 714 Car Spotting in the comments says BMW recalled over 1 million cars manufactured between 2006 and 2013, which is a long time. Because their PCV valve heaters could short circuit, causing overheating and even fires. Now, is that one of those things that German cars have, which is to say a component that other cars don't have? And not only do they have it, but it is failure prone and probably costs a lot of money? Because I've never heard of a PCV valve heater, but then again, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about smog systems. So I don't know.
Yeah, I had the same question. That is literally something I didn't know existed. But if it was going to exist, I would guess it would be on a BMW or a Mercedes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I can't possibly think of the reason you would do that other than to more fully. I mean, PCV vents to atmosphere, so you're just heating it up to atomize it. I don't understand anything.
I thought it goes back into the intake. I guess.
That makes sense.
But that has all the it wouldn't. They made the whole car. It wouldn't pass smog. They figured out this Band-Aid way of doing it, and then shoved them out the door without worrying about whether or not this would happen.
Now, Nick, you suggesting that German car companies have attempted any kind of workaround of smog systems? That's a weird thought.
I know. It's really something that they would never do. And I mean, certainly, even if they were to think of the idea, they wouldn't have the ego to assume that nobody would find out eventually.
Right. Yeah.
Because they're so much smarter than everybody else, clearly.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, Square Town, USA. God.
It's a K-car, obviously. We discussed many times is it a Reliant coupe?
Well, I'm just based. I can't read the
Aries.
badge. It looks like it has one more letter than Aries, which would make it a Reliant.
I love that it has the nativity on the deeply tinted quarter window and a Landau roof. So this is the top trim Reliant then. Man, when you think about it, this is like probably an 83 or an 84. If you were buying a Plymouth luxury car in 1979,
right,
it would have been twice the size of this.
Yeah. No, definitely. Some of the American car concepts that were popular in, the 1950s just didn't translate well to the reality of driving in the 80s. Which was, hey, people want to get good gas mileage and don't want a car that can't be parked anywhere and so on and so forth. And it's just, God, what a dumpy little machine this is. I do like that the poster is Whips of Delco and the caption is, all caps, Whips of Delco.
I mean, what else do you need to know about it? I mean, it's amazing if this is actually in Pennsylvania that this car is not completely vanished because of road salt. It's a survivor in a way that's impressive. Especially given all of the mechanical problems endemic to the K-car platform.
100%. Always amazing to see one of these on the road.
And also, before we move on, there are no afterthoughts on this car, like the rear side marker or anything.
or the tailpipe. Yeah, totally. I mean, just make the tailpipe go out straight and it wouldn't look so dumb. Anyway, what do we know? All right. Next up, what? We're in Russia town. Of course, this is our friend Latvia Car Spotting, who comes up with all kinds of cool stuff that we don't have in the States. He says it's a Gaz 3102 Volga, and then he says, "Never seen one of these before." Wow. Well, if Latvia Car Spotting has never seen one of these before, I certainly have not.
Yeah, I think the Gaz was like what passed for a Soviet luxury car, was it not?
We've talked about this before because there was Gaz, Vaz, there was Volga, which is maybe a model and maybe not a car company. I don't know how it all worked out. I mean, it's funny. They sort of had some of the same model and manufacturer confusion that General Motors had, except their reason was a lot more. It made a lot more sense why they were, and that reason, of course, was communism.
Right.
Whereas General Motors, I don't know why they had. I don't know why this is a separate model from that one, and why this one is so similar to that one. Yeah. In the USSR, I could see how that would happen, but anywho, so this car itself, I mean, it doesn't not look like a late 70s S-Class Mercedes ish.
Yeah, like a cross between it's like they took a Mercedes, but they wanted it to look a little more conservative, so they borrowed some Volvo. And then you get this. It looks like it's big also. It's sitting next to like an Altima or
whatever, I think that's whatever the series. Yeah.
And it's roughly the same size, but with model bloat, I mean, that makes this a gigantic car for the time.
For its time. Yeah. Although the other thing about Russian cars is that I feel like they had cars that looked like the 80s well into the mid 2000s.
I mean, that's also true. Yeah. This could be a 2004.
Right. Right.
Side note, someone in Lemons has one of these or something like it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's going to debut in Lemons at all, or if it's going to by the time this episode comes out. That is what I've been told, that it might be at a race in the interim between when we're recording this. And
well, that is exciting.
So yes, would be only the second Soviet car ever in Lemons.
Right. Well, third. There have been 2 Ladas, Rory's, and then those dudes that ran.
Good call. Good call.
And speaking of which, what happened to those guys? They knocked it out of the park on their first Lemons race at the Ridge. We haven't seen them since.
Don't know. I think they were trying to sell it. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Now, it's a Le Car, aka Renault 5. These are not bad-looking cars. I mean, they suffered from everything that French cars of the 80s suffered from in the States, in that cars that worked fine everywhere else in the world were just horrible pieces of crap when they came here. And I don't know the reason for that. I mean, the most obvious explanation is that in Paris, you never take one of these on the freeway. Right. And as soon as you hit I-5 in one of these babies, it blows up immediately. Of course, the Renault and whatever other French car people would say it's because Americans don't understand them and don't know how to work on them. Conveniently ignoring the fact there are plenty of other cars that don't seem to care. Like, for example, Toyota. Like, it doesn't care if you don't change the oil ever or drive it in first gear on the freeway. Like, we'll just go. So the whole not understanding the mark argument doesn't hold much water with me. But I will say, I mean, these are they're super small. Like they were smaller than, I don't even know what to compare it to at the time. I mean, they came a little later, but they're way smaller than Pintos, for example. Yeah. Like if you're looking at small 3-door cars. And they're just kind of neat. Like they're laid out well. The interiors are cool. They're funky, but functional. No, these are the R5 Turbo for good reason gets all the press, but if you do one of these upright, it's kind of a neat little car.
Yeah. This one's got some rally lights going on. It looks like it has the soft top, or maybe that's just is that like the rollback?
It's sort of Webasto style roof. Yeah.
And they found some aftermarket 3-lug wheels for it, which is also pretty impressive.
I don't know if those are aftermarket. They might be just like some kind of sporty Renault option.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
And don't forget the hood scoop, of course.
Yeah. There was in the 80s, I don't know if it was IMSA or if it was SCCA, but there was some spec racing series for the Le Car.
Oh, yeah.
It only lasted a year or two, but like it was a thing. Like you could buy a Le Car with a kit to put a cage in it, and the suspension and all that stuff. Go race, but I mean, that would be so much more entertaining than Spec Miata. Like times a million.
Yeah. Well, and from what I've been told, I don't have direct experience with Spec Miata, but it's just a bunch of aggro bros who think they're Lewis Hamilton, forgetting the fact they're driving a 91 Miata, the 1.6. You can't possibly have that attitude if you're racing. In this against a bunch of other of these. Like, there's no way you can be like, "Hey, bro, you I have the line." It's like you're in a Le Car, man. Of course, now they've got throwback 2CV spec vintage racing, effectively. And what's interesting is it's incredible. And these cars, shape-wise, aren't that different from a 2CV. So, keeping the French tradition of weird little small hatchbacks alive. Pretty cool. Used to kind of see them here. Don't anymore.
Yeah.
What do we got? Drift. Yeah. Drift Central. Actually, there's a couple of things going on here. So you've got your convertible 240 SX.
Yep.
Cool car, I would say. These are kind of neat looking. This one's got good wheels and sort of a fender kit on it. There's a Vape Bro WRX, looks like an Evo to the left, and in the back you've got the Saab 97X, or as it's known, the Trollblazer.
Trollblazer, yeah.
So this is obviously some real cool kids doing the thing. So yeah, I like the diamond plate spoiler.
I was about to point that out. Now, I think, is this an S13 or an S14?
It's an S13 with the pop-up lights is S13.
Yeah. So these popular with young drift kids, but the convertibles were sold here only with an automatic. So they're super not desirable. Because you know nobody wants an automatic 240SX.
Yeah.
So if you're going to build a 240SX for Lemons, which is a horrible idea, by the way, but if you're dedicated to it, the convertible is the way to go. So, the truck motors in these do not do well in Lemons.
They really don't, and I don't know why. I mean, they got flack on the street just because they were kind of trucky, and of course in Japan they got the SR20, which is much better suited for a sports car. Right. But yeah, in Lemons, so the truck motor, the KA motor is the truck motor, super reliable on the street. I mean, they put them in every Nissan truck that carried over into the Frontier for a while. They zero problems on the street of note. And in Lemons, they kind of, there was one last weekend at Thunderhill in a Stanza, which is, kind of a sneaky way to get a good motor in because nobody's going to notice it's in a Stanza. But I think they've blown that thing up more than once.
Yeah.
So,
the gadget inspectors out on the East Coast famously killed about 8 of them.
Yeah.
And usually in a way that made them just totally a big boat anchor. So,
like not usable.
Rod out the side, the whole thing. So.
Right. Well, getting harder to find for Lemons money, but maybe the convertible is the way to go.
Yep.
It's a Toronado, like the front wheel drive one, right?
Yeah. I think all Toronados were front wheel drive.
I guess so. I guess that was the Toronado's thing from the very beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah. But this is like the weird transition era, like between like the gigantic one and like the Toronado Trofeo. Like people just, nobody's ever seen these. Like they just don't. They stopped existing like 10 years after they were sold. Right. So this is a weird survivor, and it's for sale. So
you could be the owner. Well, and it says in the caption that it's a triple green, and I can totally picture the green interior with a green steering wheel. I mean, great Lemons car, great Lemons rally car.
Yeah, front wheel drive for stability or whatever the hell they were talking about.
Whatever they were trying to do, it
looks like it's a 76, so it's probably like an 86.
Yeah. All right, last car of the week. Shelby Dodge. Man, I had a Shelby GT500 Mustang as a press car. Terrible car, by the way. It was the first generation of the new ones, whatever that it was like a 2008 or whatever. I kind of liked the regular Mustang GT from that era. Adding more power did not make it better. That just made it like when you stepped on the gas on an on-ramp, like the axle would just like it had no idea what to do with all the power, and it would just sort of chatter sideways in this horrible, not a great machine. But the thing that stood out to me for that car was that it was the kind of car where boomers at the gas station would come up and talk to you about it. And the number one thing they would always say is like, "Hey, man, is that a real one?" And I'm always like, "A real one what?" Like as if Shelby has some kind of special cachet beyond like just a sticker package. Right. I mean, the things that Shelby did as far as Le Mans and the GT40 and the Cobra and all that stuff, that was notable and cool. After that, it was just like such clearly a marketing exercise. It just didn't have anything special that, Ford couldn't have done themselves. But like, hey, we're making a special edition that has stickers on it. That's my opinion of Shelby. But this is like the perfect example of if you're trying to like put Shelby up on a pedestal, don't forget they made a Shelby Dakota, which like, you know, that takes away a lot of the shine of the GT40 history, I think.
Yeah, I mean, what is a Shelby Dakota? It's got some stickers. There's a plaque, I think, in the glove box, and then it's like a 318, maybe with a stick. Maybe
did it have a V8?
I think it had a V8. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
but the thing was, you could buy a Dakota with it.
Yeah, I guess that's
5.2.
true.
Like it wasn't anything special,
right? I remember these having like sort of Recaro style bucket seats in them also.
Yeah. Fine. You get bucket seats then.
Yeah.
They made there was a short-lived version. I think they made a few with the convertible or like a Targa
That's
roof.
Right. Yeah.
Which in a pickup truck.
It's incredibly stupid and therefore great for Lemons.
Yeah.
But this is the perfect car to bring to Lemons. I would say it's a Class C loophole if it's a real Shelby, because it'll piss off the boomers at the gas station by ruining it in Lemons.
Well, that was the whole thing about any of Shelby's Mopars, and of course we have a Lemons World episode. You can go watch about it, but you know, like Shelby tuned the motors, which he probably actually did, which was just shoved 1 million pounds of boost into these motors because he didn't give a crap if they lived more than 20,000 miles.
Right.
So you know, if I'm buying the car, I guess I'm not thinking about, is it going to run in 3 years? There's a special kind of buyer who just doesn't think about stuff like that. And special is probably the right way of thinking about it.
Well, all you need to do is look towards today's modern Dodge Charger / Challenger buyer. You know, is that person looking to the future? No, they are not.
No, they are buying a brand Charger out of boot camp on a 20 interest rate. So I don't know, maybe I'm just describing every Chrysler buyer since the 80s. I don't know.
Well,
so
if this was a V8, it wouldn't have had any boost of note. So what would the engine mods have been? And what are the chances it was just like a big Holley carburetor and that was it?
Well, they would have been fuel injected.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well played. I'm sure. A big Holley carburetor and open headers, basically.
Right. And like, only the Shelby factory ones have this, and he is the only genius that could have thought of it. Oh man.
I mean, Shelby was just taking big checks at that point. Like, whatever, I'll just tune it later.
Which, man, more power to him, you know?
I have no problem with this. Yeah.
Holman Moody should get in on it and, make a Holman Moody edition Dodge Charger right now.
Yeah. I mean,
there are plenty of storied brands with 1960s race history that could become a crappy ass trim package on a bad Dodge.
Well, this is certainly no Intimidator Chevy Monte Carlo. Let me say that about it.
Certainly is not. And on that note, time for me to pick the hooptiest. What do I got here? I know what I got.
Yeah, there's one that's pretty hoopty.
You know what I thought when I'm looking at my notes? I'm like, number 4 says ego. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was the German car company with so much ego that they put in a part that no other car has that also bursts into flames. Turns out it actually says E60, which has a double meaning because that is what this car is, and that is also why it ended up like this. And clearly, it's the hooptiest. So that's my pick.
No arguments here. Also, the story in the comments is great. Right as I started taking a picture of crowd form, apparently it had not been there 15 minutes earlier. Nor
oh, dude. Oh, God.
Yeah, we don't know. We went to go service the car and we didn't know what happened. So I don't know.
Either that or like it got towed and then they realized like, well, how we make all our money is shaking people down for tow fees. And there's no way this person's ever going to show up and pay us, the exorbitant $900 lot fee for this. So let's just drop it. I don't know, here. Okay, see you later.
Yep. Yeah, definitely never happens in Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago and Philadelphia, famously the two places you never want to have your car towed ever.
It's just totally a scam.
Yeah. And with no recourse. So,
yeah.
That's probably a pretty good guess there. Boy, the Lemons bill is tough this week. I mean, obviously, throw a slant 6 in this, and then, you don't have to worry about all the wiring disasters.
Right.
The Gaz Volga, also pretty great. As mentioned, we might be seeing one of those. Wouldn't mind seeing more of them. The Le Car is excellent, but I'm going to go with a car that, we didn't spend a lot of time on. We don't need to spend a lot of time on because it is spectacularly malaise era and therefore perfect for lemons. I'm talking about the triple green Oldsmobile Toronado that is just begging in lemons.
Yeah, well, we've seen an Eldorado like this, which Chris Overzet turned into an amazing Ace Rothstein casino theme. I don't know whether or not this one's got the extra steel plate under the driver's seat to prevent the car bombing. But in any case, it would look amazing in lemons. I actually just noticed, at least in the front, it's got some raised white letter, possible Eagle GTs.
That's what it looks like. The
wire wheel hubcaps. Man, just run it like that. And then your theme is just everybody is dressed green upon green upon green. Green hat, green shoes, green 3-piece suit. It's
the green machine.
I think that's your pick.
You could do the Reno version of Casino also, which would be pretty great. Harvey's Casino bombing.
Not some, but certainly not all of the glitz and glamour of Vegas. You're not Ace Rothstein. You're like, 2 of spades Rothstein.
I was gonna say, that's perfect. Much potential, and this one's for sale. So
there you go. Go out and grab it. We don't care if you spend more than $500. It's a loophole.
Take the seats out and put them on rollers, and you have something to sit in all weekend too.
Absolutely. So, all right, that'll do it for this week. Lemons Car Spotting. Keep tagging your photos on Instagram and we'll find it. And hopefully you will find inspiration for your next Lemons car and or next Lemons theme. See you next week.
I love that they just couldn't call it Tornado either.
Well, is Toronado also a place where Toronado buyers don't go?